everyone. Welcome. Welcome again to the Attract Love Now online summit. I'm so happy to have you a part of this. Who have not been here thus far, I just want to tell you on the reason why we decided to amazing webinar. And it's because, like myself, I used to lack confidence. I used to be so lost when it came to love and really finding my soulmate. And I decided to take matters into my own hand and really get the help and learn the tools to be able to attract the love that I deserve. So I'm happy to be able to now be able to share that with the world. We have tonight our wonderful presenter, Gladys Ellen. And she is going to be presenting about spiritually attracting your Mr. Right. So before we get started and I give you her bio, I just want to let you know where you can go to post questions. She'll be accepting questions live. You can go on to the events page. I have posted it on the YouTube comment section. You can also send me emails directly at info.chanelbullock@gmail.com, info.SHAWNIELBULLOCK@gmail.com. And I have some great news. You know, we're at the tail end of our summit, and tomorrow I will be your presenter, and I'm so excited to be giving you my message. And I also have a special package for those that have been a part of this summit. For those that are looking to find that love, to really build their self-confidence and use their feminine power to get the most out of life, I will be giving you a special package to get that individual attention that you need. So I hope that you're interested. So here, let me tell you about Gladys. So Gladys is the owner of Heavenly Hugs, and it's a holistic healing center in Warwick, Rhode Island. She's a spiritual and intuitive advisor, an inspirational speaker, and a spirit medium. She's a facilitator of change, empowering, and she gives you the tools to really attract the healthy, positive experience in your life. I want to let you know how I met Gladys. I actually was one of Gladys's clients, and I was in a period of time of transition. I just moved to Rhode Island. I questioned moving here and, you know, what was my life purpose, and I was able to meet her. And boy, did she change my life and my outlook and really give me the insight and the validation that I needed to know that I am on the right path. And I know if it wasn't for her helping me and building my confidence, I wouldn't be here now being able to help others. I wouldn't be able to have done the seminar and have her featured. So I'm just so grateful for her to be a part of it and accepting to speak to you. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Gladys Ellen. And Gladys?
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for sitting in and listening and viewing. I'm so excited to be part of this summit. You know, relationships has been something that has been the hot topic for at least the last couple years. You know, I call what we've been going through, what I call it is like somewhat of a relationship crisis. So in 2008 and 9, we had the job crisis and real estate market crisis. And so from there, we've kind of slipped into this relationship energy because in that time, we learned so much about ourselves, what we could get through, what we wanted, what we could let go. And I find that there's so many, you know, people in this space right now looking for love. It's like we're getting a second chance to do it right with our eyes wide open, you know? And so, you know, I have to say, you know, you're not alone. You know, there's so many women out there that I know, that are my clients, that are my friends, you know, that are acquaintances, who are really in that same space. So seeing it from my perspective, you know, and hearing the same stories, I'm like, all right, there's got to be something to this. You know, I myself went through a relationship change in 2014, so I'm right there with you guys. I get it, you know, and I wasn't always a spiritual person, you know. I, you know, felt like I was flying blind sometimes, shooting in the dark, and, you know, I didn't always attract, well, the most healthy relationships with people and, you know, men in my life, you know, and, you know, I look back now with my eyes spiritually open, and, you know, I realize, you know, I probably dated the same guy, you know, different relationships with the same energy. So now, you know, my approach has been different. I've learned a lot about myself, and I hope to share those tips and tools, you know, with everybody tonight, so that you can take this and make it your own journey in your own space. How does that sound? Good. So in about 2013, things really started to change with you know, the relationships. You know, we started to unplug from codependent relationships. So codependent meaning we relied on other people for you know, our resources, our love, you know, our enjoyment, our happiness, and our fun. So we started to unplug from that, and 2014 I found was a year of self-discovery. So we were really challenged and tested in ways that really held true to what it was that we wanted. And so now here we are in 2015, which is the year of action, you know, and so to take that energy and apply it to relationships, it's time to have faith and trust that we're being guided to the right place. And we have to see every experience and opportunity as like a stepping stone to learn more about ourselves. You know, relationships, you know, is a wonderful thing, joyous, can bring abundance and happiness, and can open up magic and miracles. But again, if we're not in that space, then, you know, we're going to attract more of what it is that we don't want. So, you know, I usually say, you know, the best thing to do is trust that emotional guidance system, you know, that emotional guidance that says, you know what, this feels good or this doesn't feel good. This is right for me or it's not right for me, you know, or if you're not sure, exploring that, right? So when I talk about like spirituality and relationships, you know, I'm talking about, you know, God, angels, source, creator, universe, whatever that energy is to you, it's really that connection to your soul self, you know, and everything else is included in that. So you've really got to know yourself and what's good for you now, you know, to be able to take those steps to either put yourself out there, you know, go to a new event, you know, meet somebody, and be able to stand in your power, to be able to express, this works for me, it doesn't work for me. I know so many people, myself included, is sometimes I go along with things because I feel bad hurting somebody's feelings, or I'm not really sure what it is that I do want, you know? So, you know, I find that for me, the archangels, you know, are really powerful guides that kind of help me know what it is that I want, what it is that I don't want, you know, what feels good, what doesn't feel good. I started working with Archangel Raphael. He's the angel of healing. And so I had a lot of healing to do in my past relationships. And what he does is he's really good about going back to the past to be able to help you see in the present the experiences that are coming back so that you can shift and change, like the lessons, you know. So I usually say, let's say if you've had, you know, a difficult father or a bully sister or something growing up, and, you know, it was too much to kind of work through in that space, what happens is as an adult it comes back as a boss, or it comes back as a significant other, you know, and so we're working through those things. So like I said, you know, we've kind of been, you know, going through these experiences wondering, well, what's the point of this? And why does this keep happening to me over and over again, right? And so I say, you know, obstacles and these experiences and these relationships that we're having are an opportunity to grow, you know. And so sometimes we get down on ourselves, you know. I know it was one of my big things was I'm not good enough, you know, or I couldn't stand in my power, or you know, what's wrong with me, you know. And so I would go there and I would beat myself up, which in turn lowers my energy and attracts those people that are not good for me. So with working with the Archangel Raphael, you know, he's kind of really helped me see eyes wide open. So when that experience came back again, say I go on a date with somebody and I'm seeing a lot of the old, I can stand in my power and say, all right, great person, but it's really not what I want. It's more of what I had. So again, it doesn't mean I got it wrong. It's an opportunity for me to say, okay, universe, thanks for this, but I want something more. You know, and what I found that as I keep doing that, the universe starts to show you what it is that's coming down the pipeline in your life. So I remember in February, so I've been actively, I took a year off. I got out of a relationship in January 2014, as I've said, and I took like a year off to really find myself, you know, decide what it is that I do want, you know, and really kind of took a break to empower myself. And so I went on a trip in February, and I remember being on the plane, sitting next to this adorably cute couple. They were an older couple, and they were just giggling and laughing and being cute. And my first thought was, great. Now I've got to sit on the plane with these cute people. Why me? You know? And so I stopped myself. I'm like, wait a minute. You know, the universe is showing me something that I do want. So instead of fighting it and kind of being resentful towards it, I had to kind of like stop and embrace it, to say, okay, the universe is showing something, because, you know, I didn't have that, let's say, in my relationship. So it made me stop and think, like, you know. And so my famous quote that I like to say often is, angels, I want more of that in my life, or something even better. So I got to embrace it, and we had a nice conversation, and I got to learn more about them. Or I could have sat on that plane and resisted it and kind of put my earbuds in my phone and totally tuned it out. So instead of resisting it, I embraced it. And what happened is the universe started to bring more of that in my life, law of attraction. And so now I'm, you know, getting on the bus to go get my rental car, and there's a gentleman sitting in the back of the bus, and you could tell his wife was a little bit nervous, and he had his hand on her knee, and it was just very endearing and very sweet and very caring. And I, you know, I kind of again looked and said, angels, I want that in my life, or something even better. And so since then, I keep seeing these things that, you know, with these wonderful, you know, males, and how they're treating their women, right? And, you know, how these women are accepted and open to receive that love, but also to give that love back, you know? So, you know, I came from a relationship where, you know, we grew together. We met very young, you know, and we kind of grew up together. And so, you know, I really didn't have a lot of experience with what it is that I do want. You know, like I said, he's a wonderful person. We just kind of grew apart, you know, and wanted different things. So, you know, it's important, you know, now, you know, for me to kind of move into the eyes wide open. So, you know, there are definitely some things I see that I don't want, and I just kind of let it roll off my back. And then there are things that I do see, maybe in you know, romance novels that I read, maybe in TV shows that I see, maybe in movies that I'm watching, and just interactions in the supermarket and, you know, on the road, you know. So I find that it's kind of like heightened my awareness to be able to attract that happy, healthy relationship. Because, you know, I find that sometimes we don't know what it is that we want. We don't know. We're very clear about what we don't want because it didn't make us happy, right? So now the universe starts to show us what it is that we do want. So I usually say, instead of resisting it, kind of taking a step back and saying, all right, you know what I mean? I like the energy into that. And you know, we know all relationships, you know, aren't perfect, you know, and it's not you know, an admiration for that relationship because I'm sure they have their own issues and they have their own struggles, but it's the energy into it, you know, like attracts like, you know, and so when you're in that positive, feel-good place, you know, it radiates out, and it might not attract, you know, that romantic soulmate right away, but what it will do is it'll attract those friendships. It'll attract the relationships with your coworkers. It maybe attract better relationships with your family, which in turn raises your vibration and gets you where you need to be with that soulmate. You know, so Raphael is a really wonderful angel to call on to kind of heal past stuff, you know, the stuff that I beat myself up about. You know, I know better. Why did I do that? Why did I give too much? Why did I, you know, overdo it, you know? And so instead of going back and beating myself up on something that I couldn't fix, change, or save, or make better, now I feel like I have an opportunity to make changes in the future. So I'm going into it eyes wide open. But like I said, you know, I gave myself that break or that time off to be able to process that. You know, it was very painful and very sad, you know, and, you know, I gave myself that time to be able to process that instead of moving on to somebody else, again, who wasn't what I wanted, because that's the energy that I was in, you know.
Yep. Gladys, how do you tell, or how do you know which angel to call on? I know that you mentioned one.
Yep. I usually say all you have to do is say angels. I you know, teach classes about specific angels, you know, but you don't have to specifically know exactly who. But there's definitely plenty of stuff like online, relationship angels, and, you know, I'm going to give you a few of them. But don't get caught up with having to know who does what. You know, they always tell me they know their job. All you have to do is ask. You know, they abide by the law of free will, so they can't intervene unless you're asking on some level, you know. And for me, I usually say, you know, I started this when, you know, I went to, you know, who's my mentor now, helped me with the relationships, and, you know, that I was in at the time, you know, and I left there and I'm like, well, what do I have to lose, right? And so I started to ask, and then things started to change and get better, and, you know, I am where I am today because of it, you know. So, you usually say, you know, all you have to do is ask, you know, and say, angels, help me with this. Angels, help me with that. Does that make sense? So, you know, and that's the thing. It's like, you know, you know, it's all energy, you know, so I find like the angel's energy is very much like the sunshine. So we have one sun for the entire planet, right? And everybody utilizes the energy of the sun. So you're not going to not go to the beach because the plants and the animals need the sun, right? No, it's an infinite supply. So it's the same thing with the energy of the angels, God, source, creator, universe. That's the energy that we're connecting with. So by asking, it's like taking one ray of sunshine that's going to fill you up and, again, raise your vibration so that you feel good. And when you feel good, the people around you feel good. And when they feel good, the people around them feel good. And when they feel good, the people around them feel good. So, again, peace on earth really starts right here, you know, and everybody wants love in some form, whether it's through family, friends, love of a job, a relationship, and that's our birthright. It's our gift, right? And so that's why, you know, I see such a big push with relationships and relationship coaches, and you know, it's a wonderful thing that you're doing because there's a need out there, you know, and I think the most important thing was, you know, my clients, when I connect with them and I sit down with them, I think one of the big things is realizing they're not alone, because, you know, the media is going to advertise real estate and advertise jobs and advertise, you know, all this public stuff, but they're not going to advertise what's going on behind closed doors. You know, they're not going to advertise it. So sometimes it's like we feel alone. And again, a lot of times, you know, in my situation, most of my friends are in relationships. You know, they're married or they're already in relationships. So, you know, you do step back and ask yourself, well, what's wrong with me? You know, what did I do wrong? Will I ever find love? You know, and that energy is kind of, it defeats you. You know, and so when I started to realize that's the thinking that I had, and shifted that, like I said, calling on the angels and asking for assistance, my energy and my perspective started to change. Angel Shamuel, he's an important one, and for those who are going to look him up, it's Chamuel, and he is the angel of lost things. So what he does is he's fantastic at helping us reconnect and find our soulmates. So when you're calling on him, if you're feeling lost or you're feeling like you don't know where to go or how to connect or nothing's working, I always say invite him into your life. His color is mint green. So if you're starting to find an attraction to peppermints and Andy's mint chocolates and mint ice cream, and that's a sign to let you know that he's around. And again, he comes into our life when we're like at a crossroads in our life. So many of us, who, like I said, are looking for love, are at a crossroads. We can continue to go with more of the old, or we can kind of take that leap of faith and try new things that we necessarily wouldn't have tried, or experience new things that we wouldn't have tried or experienced. And really, when you have that energy of the angels, it's like they kind of open doors for you, and I feel like for me, I feel like I have support. I feel like I know what I'm doing, even though I have no idea what I'm doing, in that sense.
Gladys, so I have a viewer. She said, I'm very closed off when it comes to meeting new people. What steps can I take to become more open and less resistant?
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So I can totally relate. I am more of an introvert, even though I'm a public person, I'm more of an introvert, and it's very hard for me to go out and meet people. So I always say, start small. I know, Chanel and I talked about meetup.com, and sometimes it's maybe not necessarily going out to like a singles thing where you're meeting people, especially if it's a social thing, but doing things that you enjoy, a bike ride, or what I started to do is I started to go to coffee shops. Now, I certainly could have sat at my house, right, and I felt like I needed to be more social. My mom, made a joke that I wasn't going to meet anybody sitting on the couch reading books. So I'm like, good point, I got to go out, and meet somebody. So I started to just go to coffee shops and have a coffee for an hour and catch up on emails there. So I wasn't necessarily talking to anybody or interacting, but I was there. I was out, and so start small, some other things that I've done is gone to the movies, with myself. I say not by myself, with myself. I went to a restaurant with myself. That was a big deal. That was really hard. But what it did is it helped me to overcome my fears. So, of course, what I did was I called on the angels to sit with me or show me a good time. And I went into the restaurant and I sat at the bar. It was in the middle of the day and it wasn't busy. And the bartenders were new and they were trying all different kinds of drinks. So I sat there and they were letting me try like sips of all the new little drinks that they were trying. So I was out having fun with new people, and it made me realize when I left, that wasn't so bad. So I usually say start small in your comfort zone. Don't feel like you've got to push yourself too much. We do it all the time. It's like, when we haven't gone to the gym in a while and then we go back and we get on that treadmill or we lift those weights that we were lifting like 6 months ago and then the next day we're completely sore and wiped out. That's kind of like what we do, is like we kind of burn ourselves out with things. So my mantra lately has been slow and steady wins the race. So I go where I'm comfortable. Maybe just outside of my comfort zone, just a little bit. And then everything is like one step at a time. And once I did that, let's say the coffee shops, once I did that, something else came up. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, sure, I could try that. Maybe it was the movie. And another thing was a client of mine was in a play. And I really didn't have anybody to go with, but I didn't want to miss it. So I drove up there with the angels and myself, and I had a really amazing time. And because it was just me, I got an incredible seat. Front row seat. So again, it worked out, and yeah, there was some kind of like angst and animosity to it, but it kind of made me come out of my comfort zone a little bit. But like I said, only you can take the action. Only you can put yourself out there. But like I said, don't do what we do at the gym and burn yourself out, you know, and then like, that's it. It doesn't work. I'm never going to do it. You know, do those small things that you really want to do for yourself. And then in turn, it kind of builds that confidence for things like meetup and, you know, speed dating and things like that. So
you brought up meetup and speed dating and those
yes.
things. And I know, you know, some people have tried it. How do you, like, having so many people in a room, like, how do you read their energy? Like, just as a, you know, person, how do you kind of read their energy, see it, oh, we have a connection, or no, we don't?
Yes. That was kind of a big deal. You know, I have to say, with me being open the way I am, it was, my first one was very overwhelming. But I actually find that the speed dating is very spiritual in a way, because you only have 6 minutes to connect with somebody, and you either like them or you don't. And what happens is it doesn't give you a chance to overanalyze it, overthink it, overdo it. So when I went in, of course, I called on Raphael and Shamuel, because Shamuel was helping me with my soulmate, right? So I called on them. I had them kind of like with me, and then I kind of sat down and stayed present. I listened to how they talked, what their interests were. Did it meet my spiritual values? Did they talk about people? Were they rude? How was their energy? You know, were they arrogant, you know? And so I had to just kind of be present and aware of what the person was telling me. Of course, good looks are wonderful, but if they're good looking and they're mean or they're hurtful to people or they're negative, that's not what I want. So, you know, my thing is like to stay present with it. You know, that's where you're going to feel your emotional guidance system. I usually say your heart is going to open up and it's going to say, yes, that feels good. Or your solar plexus or your stomach, you're going to have like this knot, and it's not going to feel good. Trust that immediately. You know, I usually say it doesn't mean no forever. It just means no, not right now. You know, and then when they get up and they kind of move on, you only have a chance to say yes or no, or you can write notes about the person, you know, and not, you know, not overthink it, because the next person's right behind it. So for me, the speed dating was something to get myself out there. Somebody else was planning it. And all I really had to do was show up and sit down and just be myself, you know, and you know, like I said, the first one was a really great experience, you know. You know, I met a couple people who were very interesting, you know, so, you know, nothing really came of it, you know, unfortunately, but a lot came from it. You know, obviously I didn't meet my soulmate, but I learned so much from it, and it made me realize I can do this, and it made me more comfortable talking to men, you know, and being able to, you know, there were some things that I left there, I'm like, oh, I would totally do that different, or oh yes, next time I'm not going to lead the conversation, next time I'll just sit and have them lead the conversation. So like I said, you learn more about it, but again, it's the feeling in your body, and if it feels like more of the old, you know, remember that's not what we want anymore. You know, we want new and different. And new and different is exciting, but it can also be scary, you know, and that's where you have to kind of trust yourself. So while you're out there looking for love, I usually say, work on yourself. You know, if you've got finances to get in order, or you've got have tos and shoulds, if you've got things that you've been procrastinating on, finish those, complete those, tie up loose ends, so that when that person does come into your life, you're free and clear, and it's not like, oh, you know, I don't want this person to come over because my house is a mess, or, you know, I don't want this person to know that, you know, my finances are a mess. You know, work on those things now while you're in the process of attracting love, you know. So for me, that's something that I really had to work on to feel successful and confidence and focus on my business. So if I do meet somebody now, I have the time and the energy, and I feel like I'm in a good place to be able to dedicate that time to somebody, you know, that they deserve, you know, because that person deserves it just as much as I do.
How do you handle being vulnerable? You know, when you date, you have to be vulnerable, and it's scary for a lot of people. So how do you handle that on a spiritual level?
Absolutely. Vulnerability. That's something, I was definitely that person who grew up with the walls. I'm Cancer energy, so I'm all emotion. So I kind of hold it all in. I feel like the best thing is to trust yourself. We never want to overgive and share too much. I always say, guys are really good at leading, and women, sometimes we overgive and overshare and overdo and kind of become like clingy or whatever. So I usually say, in order to avoid that vulnerability, meet that person where they're at. Take your time with it. Communication is really, really, really important. You have to express yourself. You have to say, what, this is working for me or it's not working for me. Listen, instead of dumping all your baggage, saying, what, I'm new at this. I really don't know what I'm doing. And be honest. That right person is going to love that, and they're going to share their vulnerabilities as well. And if you're getting that person who's laughing at you or hurting you or lying to you, then that that's not the person, and it's time to kind of say thanks, but no thanks. I'm looking for more. And then now you have another experience where you can say, angels, all right, this is what I want. I've kind of experienced more of what I don't want, so now I kind of want to move into this space. So when I have those experiences, I take away like what I did like about that relationship, or what I did like about that experience. And I'll say, angels, I want more of that in my life, or something even better, And so start banking what it is that you do want with the experience that you're having. But like I said, meet the person where they're at. You don't want to dump all your baggage and your history on the first date. Go out and have fun, have a good time. Do something that you're going to enjoy, a walk on the beach, a nice dinner, a movie, no fluff, right? Kind of keep it basic. And then you can see where the conversation goes, but you never want to, pull yourself out of your comfort zone. And if something is getting too uncomfortable for you, there's nothing ever wrong with saying, what, I'm not really ready to talk about that right now, or what, I'm just not in that place. Can we talk about something else? And like I said, the right person will totally respect that and honor that, and respond with kindness, because that's truly what we want. We want relationships that are going to last a lifetime, not, 5 or 10 minutes now, maybe we do, but I think, the general population of this summit is really looking for that long-lasting love, along with long-lasting friendships and, relationships with family members and so on. So your relationships really are going to spill out into many areas of your life. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. I don't have any other questions right now that's coming up.
So what I can say is, as I've said earlier, every relationship is an opportunity to grow. I was, I want to share this. I was watching the 50 Shades of Grey movie, and it was funny, because I always look at things from a spiritual perspective. That type of movie, though, is just, I'm a girl, let's go out, have some fun, and watch this. But it never ceases to amaze me how the universe kind of creeps in, even in that type of like experience. So there was a scene where, the mother was bringing the daughter back to the airport, and she was debating whether, this relationship was for her. And her mother said, now I'm not going to quote it because I really don't know exact, but the energy into it, she said, relationships are an opportunity to learn more about yourself. She said something about, men will come in and out of your life, but with every experience, you'll know more about yourself. And that really kind of hit me. And I was like, you know what? It's true. We're here to learn and grow and experience life, right? And so we have to see every experience that we're having as an opportunity to grow and to learn more about ourselves, more of what it is that we do want and more of what it is that we don't want, right? So, we kind of have to see that and really stay in the present with it. I was worrying about, well, I'm this age and I should be this at this time. And, and I have to stop and look and, I'm a late bloomer, I'm just, figuring things out now, so, I have to kind of remember not to put those time limits on myself and those restraints and those restrictions. And I really have to trust in God's plan. that I can't imagine that God's going to make me be alone for the rest of my life. So I look around and, I have the support of my family. I have wonderful friendships. I've got clients who are amazing, so I am surrounded by that love. So I take that gratitude in, which in turn raises my vibration to attract more of what it is that I do want in my life. There's a really good book out there that, like I said, with working on ourselves, Doreen Virtue, she's got this book.
Love her.
Isn't she amazing? She's got this book that really hit home for me, and I've actually shared it out, my copy out, but it's Assertiveness for Earth Angels. And I have to say, a lot of us, probably a lot of the people who are listening and watching in, are caregivers, healers, Earth Angels, light workers. We're here to serve. And so from that perspective, I find that we sometimes tend to get into relationships where we have to fix, change, save, and make better, because we want to help. We want to help people. We want people to feel good, right? But sometimes the wrong people, friendships, family members, significant others, other relationships, they latch on, right? And they kind of feed off of our energy, take advantage of us. We overgive, we do too much, right? And so this book really kind of helped me to see how much I was overgiving. Now, we're caregivers, healers, earth angels, light workers, whatever you want to call us. The angels aren't saying not to share, not to give, but again, what they are saying is we can no longer fix, change, save, and make better for people anymore. Remember, I was talking about breaking away from that codependency, the codependent relationships. Well, now we're getting into interdependent relationships where we each have our healthy masculine, which is the energy of action, our healthy feminine, which is the energy of freedom, right? And we're balancing that and taking care of ourselves and making sure our needs are met. And so is that significant other or that person in your life. They need to embody that as well. So that masculine energy needs to be a nurturer as well as a provider. I, find that the female energy can also be that provider as well as the nurturer, right? And so now when we're interdependent, working on this together, it's like now you're growing together by leaps and bounds. And I found that reading that book, again, Assertiveness for Earth Angels, kind of gave me some clues about how unhealthy some of the relationships in my life were. And even though, my heart knew it and my mind knew it, I still wasn't taking steps to make it any better or make it any easier. So if you find, you're an over giver, if you give too much and you tend to get taken advantage of, or you get walked all over, I really recommend that book. It's spiritual, but it's Doreen Virtue is amazing in a way where she's got a way to relate to all people. It's not so out there that it's hard to understand. It's very, very basic and mainstream. And so I find that like I said, because I keep talking about as we're working on ourselves, we're raising our vibration to match. I find that was a really good book that helped me understand myself and gave me some insight as to the things that I kept doing over and over and over again. And I usually say 90% of anything is awareness. Once you're aware of it, you can shift it and change it, right? The last 10% is the action, and that's kind of where we get caught up. So it's like, oh gosh, I'm aware of this. Now I got to take the steps to make it better or fix it or change it. And so what happens is people think that action is just the beginning and it seems too hard, too long. There's no way over those mountains. I don't know how it's going to get better. And that's why I say you call in God and the angels, the universe, source, creator, whatever that energy is for you, the highest vibration of unconditional love. You can even say that unconditional love vibration, that's really what that energy is, right? It's the energy of truth. And so what it's going to do is it's going to fill you up and it's going to raise your vibration so that you're maybe getting healthy, like, is it laughing a little bit more, bringing joy into your life? But naturally what's going to happen is those people, places, things, and ideas that no longer resonate with that are going to start to fall away. And we really got to be okay with that. All right, am I okay with this, shifting and changing? Not that we're dumping people. I'm not telling people start calling people and saying, hey, your energy no longer serves me, so you can't be in my life anymore. That's not it at all. I'm just saying step away from those those people who are taking advantage of you are consuming all your time and energy so that you can focus on yourself, you know. And this book gives you so many different scenarios and situations that, you know, I guarantee many pieces in that book will resonate with somebody. You know, it's something for everybody, whether you're new to spirituality, or, you know, if you've been around the block for a long time, you know. So like I said, it's a really good tool to kind of help yourself as you're growing into attracting love.
Nice. Love that. So I have a question from a viewer. She says, how do I know I'm being open and not settling? How do I distinguish between the two?
Being open and not settling. So I feel like, sometimes it's like we've got to put the lists aside. You know, I want this, I want this, I want this. And right, be open to what it is that we're getting. But also, too, it's okay to say, you know what, I want something more. And that takes time, you know. And so many times we feel like we need to make a decision right away. We have to decide after the second date, all right, is this person going to be with me the whole rest of my life, right? And so I usually say, give yourself time to think about it. You know, weigh your options. What feels good? What doesn't feel good? You know, like I said, you know, you can attract more of the same in a different way, you know. And the idea with settling is that sometimes we get, like, let's say a relationship or an experience that kind of comes into our life, and then we feel like, well, there's nothing else. So, you know, I'm going to go with this, you know. And again, that's important to pay attention to those red flags, you know, so that, you know, you're not putting your energy into something that's really not right for you, you know, or really doesn't feel right. But I do have to say, we do have to kind of put aside the lists and, you know, I want this and I want this and I want this and I want this. We can absolutely have that. But again, if we're going into the date, like analyzing and comparing and with this idea of what it is that we want in our head, you know, now it's kind of like our ego is controlling it, you know, where when we kind of say, you know what, I'm going to go in, I'm going to have fun, and I'm just going to be in the moment, you know, those are those experiences that have been the best experiences that I've had, you know, when I've kind of put that energy into it and started to overthink. Oh, you know, I don't really like this, and I don't really like that, and I'm not really sure about this, and I'm not really sure about that. You know, that's when, you know, it kind of gets, you know, to the point where, again, you know, I feel like, well, I'm going to let this go. And I kind of feel like I'm settling because there's nobody else, you know? So again, that's where I say, call in your guardian angels and guides, you know, but I think the big thing I want to say about that is give yourself a time to process it, to think about it. You know, we're all busy. We work, you know, we've got social lives, you know, we've got all these have-tos and shoulds. So when you're going out on these dates, be present in them. You know, ask yourself, is this what I want or isn't it? You know, don't be afraid to go on a second date or a third date. People are nervous on their first date, right? You know, you show up and, you know, you mean to give your best, but people get nervous. So they talk too much and they say too much. And, you know, there have been some times where I've gone on, you know, dates and, you know, the second or third date was way better than the first date. And I could have on the first date said, you know what, this isn't really what I want. I feel like I'm settling, you know, but then there are some first dates that I had that I was like, nope, this isn't for me, you know, and I know very clearly, thank you, you're a great person, but, you know, this is not for me. So that's where I guess my answer is, give yourself time to think about it. Put the lists aside, be present in the date and be present in it, and pay attention to how you're feeling and how this person makes you feel. If they're making you feel icky or uncomfortable or pressured, time out, you know? And you have to ask yourself, well, is this because it's something from my past that's coming up and I'm putting that on them? Or is this person showing me, you know, the worst of what they have? And then again, it's okay to say thanks, but no thanks. And I usually say, you know, one of the things that I like to say often is God's not going to take anything away unless he's going to replace it with something even better. So sometimes we think this is going to be our only opportunity, our only chance, because we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. We can't see the opportunities coming down the pipeline. So if it's not for you, it's okay, because something else even better is coming along. Not that that person is a bad person or there's something wrong with them. It's just not for you. So, in that space, I usually say, give yourself time, take a step back, be present, and then kind of process it. Don't be afraid to sit with yourself. That's where you're going to learn more about yourself, and if you don't, reach out to people. We need our support system. I mean, Chanel, you're amazing at being able to help people. There's so many tools and things that are out there. Don't be afraid to reach out. Sometimes it really helps to get somebody else's perspective, to say, hey, I'm the crazy one here, or, all right, this is what I'm thinking, this is how I'm feeling, and all right, this is a pattern and it's the next step. So, use your support system to help you, the healthy support system, not those, those friends who, vow to never ever date again, and, aren't happy, and, you want to be with people who are, kind of going to support you and help you from that loving place and not from their, experiences.
Thank you so much. She said it was very helpful.
Good.
The other question that I have is, how do you work on yourself as well as stay in the relationship? Because you want to fight for it, but also you want to balance yourself and your confidence and self-worth.
Okay, so there's a quote out there that I believe it's a Bible verse. It's the love is patient, love is kind. And I read an article, and the article was talking about how this woman was getting ready to have a conversation with her daughter, who was a teenager, who was going to start dating. And how she was nervous about having this conversation with her daughter about the right ways for a guy to treat her, and what's okay and what's not okay. And I think it was on godvine.com or something. And one of the things that she said, the gift of the information she shared with her daughter, is taking that love is patient, loving is kind, and then insert the person's name in there. So, Todd is patient, Todd is kind, Todd is, I don't really know the whole quote, but, in that moment, you can ask yourself, all right, does this person fit this? And if not, they're hurtful to people, or they're not patient, or they're not kind, we have to ask ourselves, is that what I want? And so, these let's say these guys in your life, or this relationship that you're in, they're showing you the best of what they have. They're showing you what they have to offer, what's available, right? And so we, myself included, because I went there like to hope and wish and pray and dream that it will get better and it will change and it will get easier. But again, the same things happen over and over again, right? And so that was what was happening in my relationship. So I had to kind of take a step back and ask myself, is this what I want for the whole rest of my life? And that's really kind of how you have to think of it. Now, that doesn't mean you have to turn around and break up with that person right away. Sharing that and saying, this is what I want. This is what I want to experience, and if that person doesn't have the capacity, they'll let you know, and again, the thing is, you don't want to remain in a relationship to settle, There's love, and then there's fear of being alone, so again, that's that part of working on yourself. And so for me, it's like finding those things, that are asking what it is that you do want in your life, and again, that's where I was going, where we can go back to the universe showing you those bits and pieces. Pay attention to the people that are around you. Pay attention to the relationships that are around you. Does your relationship have the capacity? There are lessons learned loves, and then there are soulmates that you're with for the whole rest of your life. And so we have to kind of see where we are at in that relationship. And remember, guys are going to show us and tell us what they mean. We like to analyze and overthink and put the emotions into it. But typically when they say something, they mean it, or if they're showing you something, that's what to expect, you know? And so we've got to take a step and ask ourselves, is this what I want? Maybe not for the whole rest of my life, but does this make me feel good? And then we've got to make adjustments accordingly. But remember, God doesn't take anything away unless he's going to replace it with something even better. And it's okay to want more. It doesn't mean people are disposable. You know, of course, we're going to love that person. You know, that relationship that I was in, I love that experience. I treasure everything that I've learned from it. I wouldn't be where I was today without it. So I was able to find peace with it, which I think helps me move forward, you know. But again, as you're working on yourself, your vibration is going to raise up, and that person, if they're not meant to be in your life, will drift farther and farther away, or there may be more arguments, or there might be more cord cutting and pulling. But remember, we have to recognize emotional abuse, verbal abuse, people putting us down, you know, that's just never okay, you know. So I really liked that quote, love is patient, love is kind, and inserting that person's name. And even maybe going into a date, you know, and keeping those keywords in your mind, paying attention to those things, you know, because ultimately that's what we want. We want genuine, true, easy, supportive love, because there are going to be trials and tribulations. There are going to be financial problems. There are going to be stresses and health stuff. And, you know, you've got to know that you're with somebody who's committed 100%, you know, and if this person is showing you that they're one step out the door now, you know, think about in the future, maybe with children, maybe with sick parents, maybe with financial problems, is that person going to be able to step up to be there to support you, and vice versa? You know, are you going to be in that place with them? Are you going to support that person 100%? I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. She's happy. She said it was a great response.
Thank you.
So could you tell us some more about the angels? I know that you said you had a couple that you wanted to comment.
Yep, absolutely. So Raphael is the healer. We talked about him earlier. Shamuel is the angel that helps us find our soulmates, and he can bring our soulmate relationships together. Archangel Ariel, she's the angel of courage and bravery. She can help us stand in our power. So this goes back to the listener who just asked that question. Archangel Ariel would be a really good angel to call on, because she can give you strength and courage to make those tough decisions, to have the clarity, and she can also give you the strength to say no when people are taking advantage of your time and energy. You know, we need time, and we need energy, and we need to be in good space to be able to go out and want to meet somebody. So Ariel can help us. And sometimes, you know, we'll always be busy. There's always something to do. So when we're super busy and bogged down with have-tos and shoulds for everybody else, where are we going to find time for somebody else to come into our life, right? So Ariel can help you now to start helping you to set boundaries with people. You know, start saying no in a loving, kind way, saying, you know what, I can't do that right now, or you know what, you know, I'm not able to, you know. And then I find what I learned is you really learn who your true friends are, you know. So I really had to set boundaries and say, you know what, this is what I want, or this is what I want to experience, you know. And Ariel really kind of helped me, you know, be courageous and strong to be able to set those boundaries, you know. And, you know, when somebody was like, yeah, sure, no problem, I'll catch you next week or whatever, then, you know, they're in it. You know, when that person's like, fine, you know, I can't believe, and they're upset with you and they're talking about you because you said no to something, now you know that that's not healthy, right? So Ariel can help you stand in your power, be courageous and strong, to set boundaries so that you're freeing up time to do the things that you want to do, and not necessarily all the things that you have to do for other people. Archangel Raguel, he's the angel of relationship harmony. So, you know, if you are in a relationship, or it is brand new, or you meet somebody, you know, sometimes things can come up from other people's pasts, your past, their past. And so sometimes, you know, I find that, you know, when we're in these, you know, dating, you know, things can come up that we really didn't know was an issue, or fear or something can come up that, you know, we weren't really aware of, and we wouldn't have been had we not gone on this date or had this experience. So Raguel can kind of help bring in the relationship harmony. So you can kind of take a step back and say, all right, this is my fear, or this is my worry, or this is my fight or flight response, thoughts, or this is my shutdown, you know, or is it the other person's, you know? So we can kind of bring in that piece. And he's all about keeping things fair and just, you know. So again, if we want to attract that happy, healthy relationship, you know, we need to build that with our friendships and our family members, you know. And again, some family members are just going to be who they are, and you know, we can't change them. We have to love them for who they are, even if they're hard to love, right? But Raguel can help you with relationship harmony in your existing relationships, you know. So then again, it filters out into attracting that that true love. And then one more angel that I wanted to talk about is Angel Jophiel. She's really important, especially for females like myself who tend to go to the self-esteem, lack of self-esteem, worth, value. Angel Jophiel helps us to beautify our thoughts. So the negative thinking, the old programs, I'm never going to find anybody, there's nobody out there, you know, what's wrong with me? How come I can't, you know, find anybody? I've got to be thinner, or I've got to have better clothes, or I've got to make more money. So Jophiel will help lift your thoughts, lift your thinking to positive thinking. And she'll help you see those people. So it might be a quote on Facebook that you see that's positive and uplifting. It might be a TV commercial, a song on the radio that's going to uplift you and empower you. So again, if you're stuck in that negative thinking or those programs, which, you know, is just kind of being aware of, when you're having that, call on Angel Jophiel. She's this beautiful blush pink color. And for me, when I'm having those thoughts, I just surround myself in her blush pink color and ask her to beautify my thoughts. And then, you know, in that moment, I ask myself, well, what is it that I do want? You know, I want to feel comfortable in my own skin. You know, I want to be financially secure. I want, you know, happy, healthy relationships in my life. That is a really good affirmation. I said that often, and I still say it. I said it in the past often, and I still say it a lot now. You know, angels, please send me happy, healthy relationships in my life. Or I am surrounded by happy, healthy relationships. And then Jophiel will help you with the worthiness to believe that you deserve that, you know, and again, she'll help you receive that too, because sometimes it's hard when people say, oh, you're great, and you're so good at this, and you're so good at that, and we kind of just fluff it off. Jophiel will help you say, hey, pay attention to this. This will help beautify your thoughts and lift you up, you know. So those are some really good relationship angels. But like you said, you don't necessarily have to remember who they are, what they do. You can also say, romance angels, help me, you know, relationship angels, help me, and the specific angel that's best to do their job will come in and help. But I usually say, your job is to pay attention to the experiences and the opportunities and the tools that are coming into your life, because that's where you've got to take the action to receive it.
Gladys, a viewer wants to know, does she have to be religious to call upon the angels?
Absolutely not. You know, like I said, it's that highest vibration of unconditional love. You know, I can't say I'm religious. Like I said, I'm very spiritual. You know, obviously I grew up with religion and faith. But like I said, you have to translate it into your own perspective. You know, that's why I usually say God, source, creator, universe. If you're religious, that's wonderful too, you know, but don't feel like you have to separate yourself because you don't fit into this box or fit into this mold. I enjoy many different religions. You know, I take from many different things, and they all fill me up, because really the basis of everything is love, right? True unconditional love. I had a lady come in once and say, you know, she came for an angel class, and she's like, Gladys, at the end of it, she's like, Gladys, I don't really believe in God and that. She's like, how does this relate to me? You know, and I had to kind of think about it, and I'm like, I said, love. I said, do you believe in love? And she's like, yeah, of course I do. I said, then that's it. In its simplest, most beautiful form, it's the highest vibration of unconditional love. So when you surround yourself with that, you've got it. You're in, you're golden.
That's great. She says, I need to start calling on these angels.
And you know, like I say, what do you have to lose, right? You know, and that was where I was. I was like, what do I have to lose? I'm going to try it, and I'm going to, you know, start asking, you know. And like I said, my life started changing by leaps and bounds, and I'm like, hey, there's something to this. So in this work that I do, it's not just my work, it's not just my career helping people, it's my lifeline, it's me personally, it's what I do. You know, when I wake up in the morning and I go to bed at night, I'm always calling on the angels, or I'm always asking for something, or whoever wants to help me, you know. And like I said, you know, the best thing to do is to ask, you know, but again, be open to how it's going to come, because it's not, we don't always get what we want, but we get what we need. Right? So again, that's where being present helps.
Wonderful. So I'm just going to leave the last 2 minutes to see if anyone else has. Sorry, I thought I unmute myself. I said I was going to leave the last 2 minutes to see if anyone else has questions before we go, but people are saying that they really enjoyed all that you say, and they're definitely looking forward to calling upon the angels.
Wonderful. Well, on my my website at Gladys Ellen, GladysEllen.com, I have an angel log on my website, and it's all stories from people, from what clients have shared about the angels. So if this is a completely new thing to you, go to my website and check it out. Research it. Read books, you know, see what works. Like I said, Doreen Virtue is an incredible author. If you want to know more, sit down with me. I have an office in Warwick, Rhode Island. It's a private practice, you know, and I offer private sessions. You know, that's all on my website. But let me help you. Let me be that vehicle. But like I said, you know, I meet people where they're at, you know, so I'm not going to push you out of your comfort zone. I'm going to see where you're coming from. And then I'm going to give you guardian angels and guides that are going to be able to work with you. And then you leave, and you know, then you're your best light, right? To be able to help others that are around you.
Great. So it looks like there's no other questions at this moment. So I want to thank you again, Gladys, for being a part of this summit. And for everyone else, tomorrow I will be the last speaker. I can't believe it's coming to an end. It was such phenomenal presenters. I'm so happy and blessed that they were all a part of it. And so tomorrow I'll be speaking on what's holding you back from a love that you deserve. So please stay tuned for my presentation. So I hope you have a wonderful evening, and thank you again for being a part.
Bye.